Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a point in every person's life when the world pushes you harder than you thought you could endure, when people test your patience, challenge your heart, and try to bend your spirit in directions it was never meant to go. In those moments, most look outward for strength. But the truth is simple. The power you are searching for is already living within you, quiet, steady, unshaken. Beyond. Inner power is not built in comfort. It is forged the same way steel is forged, through pressure, heat, and the willingness to remain centered, even when everything around you tries to pull you apart. Every breath you take is an opportunity to return to yourself, to reclaim control, and to stand firm in who you are. Mastering your inner stillness is the foundation of unshakable inner power. Most people react to life the same way a leaf reacts to the wind. They are moved by every gust, every change, every opinion. But true strength begins the moment you learn to return to yourself before you respond to anything outside of you. Stillness is not the absence of chaos. It is the ability to remain centered while chaos tries to pull you in every direction. When someone provokes you, challenges you, or tries to break your composure, the instinct is to react immediately. But that reaction usually comes from old habits, old wounds, or temporary emotions. Stillness gives you space. It gives you the clarity to observe instead of absorb, to understand rather than overreact. In that space, you regain control. You choose how to respond instead of being controlled by the situation. My inner stillness is a discipline. It requires awareness of your breath, your posture, and the sensations in your body. When you feel tension rising, pause. Breathe with intention. The breath is the bridge between the mind and the body. And when you anchor yourself in it, your thoughts slow down, your emotions settle, and your awareness sharpens. Even a few seconds of stillness can stop you from making decisions that weaken you. Stillness is also about understanding that not every battle deserves your energy. When you are calm within, you can see which challenges are worth facing and which are simply distractions. You begin to recognize that the world outside will always fluctuate, but your inner world can remain steady. This steadiness allows you to navigate pressure with a clear mind and an unshaken heart. Lanjan, by mastering inner stillness, you strengthen your presence. People feel it. They sense your groundedness, your confidence, your calm. It is a power that doesn't need to be shown. It is simply felt. Choosing discipline over emotion in moments of pressure is one of the highest forms of self-mastery. Most people live as prisoners of their emotional reactions. A single moment of anger, frustration, jealousy, or fear can make them say things they don't mean, make decisions that don't serve them, and follow impulses that weaken their future. Discipline is the ability to pause, hold your inner line, and act from intention rather than impulse. It is the moment where you reclaim authority over your own life. When pressure rises, emotions become loud. They demand action. They push you to defend, to attack, to escape, to justify. But discipline teaches you to recognize the emotion without becoming the emotion. You learn to witness the fire without stepping into it. This is where true power begins. When you choose discipline, you choose clarity. You choose long-term strength over short-term release. You choose actions that align with who you want to become, not with who you used to be. Discipline is not suppression. It is mastery. Suppression hides emotions. Mastery uses them. When you feel anger, discipline channels it into determination. When you feel fear, discipline turns it into awareness. When you feel pain, discipline transforms it into resilience. You stop fighting your emotions and instead learn to guide them like a skilled warrior guiding his energy with precision rather than force. Discipline is built in the small, unseen moments. The moment you get up when your mind tells you to stay in bed. The moment you walk away from an argument because you know silence is stronger. The moment you stay focused when distractions try to seduce you. Every small act of discipline becomes a thread in the fabric of your character. Over time, this fabric becomes unbreakable. Under pressure does not create weakness. It exposes what is already weak, and it does the same for strength. When you meet pressure with discipline, you start to notice something powerful. Emotional storms lose their ability to control you. What once triggered you now becomes an opportunity to practice self-command. Instead of being shaken by life, you become someone who moves through life with intention, precision, and inner stability. Discipline becomes your armor, but it also becomes your compass. It directs your actions, protects your energy, and reinforces your inner power every time you choose it over the temporary noise of emotion. Detaching from opinions that don't align with your purpose is an essential step in building inner power that cannot be shaken by external forces. Most people are unconsciously ruled by what others think. A single comment, a judgment, a sarcastic remark is enough to make them doubt themselves or change their direction. But when your sense of self is dependent on external validation, you are giving strangers the authority to shape your identity. True strength begins the moment you stop seeking permission to be who you are and start living according to your purpose, not theirs. The manager. Every person you meet sees the world through their own experiences, limitations, fears, and beliefs. So when someone judges you or criticizes you, it says more about their inner state than it does about your potential. If you carry every opinion with you, you will walk through life weighed down, bending under loads that were never yours to carry. Detachment is not ignoring people. It is recognizing that their words do not have the power to define you unless you hand them that power. And detachment requires clarity. You must be deeply connected to your own purpose, your values, and your mission. When you know why you do what you do, irrelevant noise loses its influence. When your inner compass is strong, the world can pull, push, and misunderstand you. But your direction remains unchanged. Purpose becomes your anchor. It keeps your mind stable even in environments filled with confusion and chaos. To months, there will always be people who don't understand your path. Some will doubt you because they doubt themselves. Some will fear your growth because it highlights their stagnation. Some will try to dim your light because your brightness exposes their darkness. This is human nature. Detaching from their opinions doesn't mean you become cold or uncaring. It means you protect your inner space from unnecessary interference. You allow others to have their judgments without letting those judgments rewrite your identity. Detachment is a discipline. It requires observing your emotional reactions when someone disagrees with you or underestimates you. Instead of trying to convince them, defend yourself, or seek their approval, you breathe, recenter, and remind yourself of your purpose. In that moment, you return authority to where it belongs, within you. This internal shift is subtle, but it is transformative. You no longer crumble under misunderstanding. You no longer chase validation. You no longer shape yourself to fit into smaller minds. When you detach from opinions, you start to operate from a place of inner truth. Your decisions become sharper. Your presence becomes stronger. Your focus becomes cleaner. And gradually, you stop living as a reflection of other people's beliefs and start living as a reflection of your own potential. This is where inner freedom begins. This is where inner power develops. You become someone whose direction is chosen from within, not dictated from outside. Building habits that strengthen your character rather than your comfort is one of the most transformative shifts you can make on the path to inner power. Most people live on a loop of routines that feel good in the moment but weaken them over time. Comfort is seductive. It promises ease, relaxation, and escape. But comfort rarely builds the qualities that make you unshakable. Character is built through repetition, challenge, and conscious choice. When you choose habits that develop your inner strength, instead of feeding your temporary cravings, you begin shaping a version of yourself that is grounded, disciplined, and resilient. But every day, you are practicing something. You are either practicing becoming stronger or practicing becoming weaker. The mind and body adapt to whatever you feed them consistently. If you feed distraction, you become more distracted. If you feed procrastination, you become more avoidant. But if you feed discipline, you become more disciplined. If you feed resilience, you become more resilient. This is why habits are not small actions. They are the architecture of your identity. Character-building habits often feel uncomfortable in the beginning. Waking up early when the body wants more sleep. Training when the mind says rest. Choosing silence when the ego wants to respond. Staying focused when distractions try to pull you away. These moments present a simple but powerful question. Will you serve your comfort or your future self? Every time you choose the future, you reinforce a deeper, more stable version of yourself. Lanes. Strengthening your character also requires aligning your habits with your values. If you value discipline, your actions must reflect it. If you value growth, your routines must support it. If you value inner peace, your choices must protect it. Many people say they want strength, clarity, confidence, or independence. But their daily habits are the opposite of those qualities. They want the result without the repetition. But inner power is not an event, it is a practice. Habits that build character require presence. They require you to stay aware of your thoughts and actions instead of living on autopilot. Autopilot leads to comfort-driven behavior. Presence leads to intention-driven behavior. When you cultivate presence, you stop reacting and start choosing. You begin to notice the small decisions that shape your day, whether you speak or stay silent, whether you act or hesitate, whether you keep a promise to yourself or break it. Integrity is built in these moments. Every time you follow through on what you said you would do, you strengthen your inner structure. The habits that matter most are not dramatic. They are consistent. A few minutes of daily reflection, a routine of mindful breathing, a commitment to physical training, a habit of finishing what you start, a practice of gratitude. These create a foundation strong enough to carry you through chaos. They teach you how to stay centered even when life is unpredictable. They sharpen your awareness and cleanse your mind of unnecessary noise. MD character building habits also reveal your weaknesses, which is essential for growth. When you commit to a disciplined practice, you quickly see where you hesitate, where you resist, where you avoid discomfort. But this is not a failure, it is a mirror. It shows you the exact areas where strength must be developed. With consistency, what once felt difficult becomes natural. What once felt heavy becomes light. This transformation does not happen suddenly. It happens through repetition, through patience, through conscious effort. Choosing habits that grow your character is choosing a path of long-term strength over short-term comfort. It is choosing to become someone who does not crumble under pressure because you have trained yourself to remain stable. It is choosing to build an inner foundation that cannot be manipulated or shaken by anyone. Through these habits, you create a version of yourself that is not dependent on circumstances, but prepared for them. Protecting your energy by setting non-negotiable boundaries is one of the most vital practices for anyone seeking inner strength. Your energy is the fuel for your thoughts, actions, and decisions. When it is scattered, taken, drained, or consumed by the wrong people, you lose clarity, focus, and direction. Many people feel exhausted, not because life is hard, but because they have no boundaries. They say yes when they want to say no. They tolerate disrespect. They allow chaos into their space, and they give access to people who have not earned it. Without boundaries, your inner world becomes exposed and unprotected. With boundaries, your inner world becomes sacred. Temblian, setting boundaries is not about building walls. It is about understanding that your peace, your focus, and your emotional stability are priceless. When you protect them, everything in your life improves. You think more clearly, you move more intentionally, you feel more grounded. But to reach this point, you must first understand that not everyone deserves entry into your inner space. Some people bring clarity, some bring confusion, some bring peace, some bring noise. The ability to distinguish between them is the beginning of boundary building. Boundaries start with awareness. You must observe the moments when your energy shifts. Who drains you? Who supports you? Who leaves you feeling lighter? Who leaves you feeling heavy? Your body always knows before your mind does. Pay attention to the tightness in your chest, the tension in your shoulders, the change in your breathing. These signals are telling you something important. When someone repeatedly disrupts your inner balance, that is not a coincidence. It is a pattern, and patterns require boundaries. Boundaries also require courage. Saying no is not always easy. Walking away from situations that weaken you demands strength. Distance can feel uncomfortable, but the discomfort of honoring yourself is temporary. The discomfort of betraying yourself lasts much longer. When you choose to protect your energy, you are choosing growth over approval, clarity over chaos, and self-respect over fear. This is the kind of courage that builds inner power. Mend, one of the most profound aspects of boundaries is realizing that you do not need to explain them. You do not need to convince others why you need space, why you cannot tolerate certain behavior, why you will not participate in negativity, or why you refuse to carry emotional burdens that are not yours. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always question your boundaries. People who respect you will understand without being told. The goal is not to satisfy everyone. The goal is to align your life with what strengthens your spirit. Protecting your energy also means protecting your time. Time is the container for your focus, your work, your purpose. When you allow others to interrupt it freely, you weaken your potential. You must decide when you are available and when you are not. You must decide which conversations deserve your attention and which are distractions disguised as obligations. You must choose people who uplift your direction rather than conflict with it. Guard your time as if it were your most valuable resource, because it is. Boundaries extend to your digital environment as well. The content you consume shapes your energy. Constant noise, negativity, comparison, and overstimulation weaken inner power. Reducing unnecessary input, limiting what you expose your mind to, and creating space for stillness are boundary practices too. A disciplined mind is not built in a chaotic environment. Protecting your digital space is protecting your mental space. Another essential part of boundaries is emotional responsibility. You are responsible for your emotions and others are responsible for theirs. You cannot save everyone, fix everyone, or carry the weight of their pain on your shoulders. Compassion does not mean self-sacrifice. You can care without absorbing. You can support without surrendering your well-being. Emotional boundaries allow you to remain empathetic without drowning in the emotions of others. As you strengthen your boundaries, something powerful begins to happen. You stop tolerating what drains you. You stop explaining yourself to those who don't listen. You stop compromising your peace for temporary acceptance. And gradually, your inner world becomes cleaner, lighter, and more stable. Boundaries become a shield that protects your energy from being scattered. They become a filter that keeps negativity out and keeps your focus intact. Through this practice, you discover that protecting your energy is not selfish. It is a form of self-respect. It is the understanding that your inner power grows only when you stop giving it away freely. Boundaries create the space where strength can expand. They form the structure within which your true potential can develop. Transforming adversity into fuel for unwavering self-belief is one of the most profound shifts a person can make on the journey toward inner power. Most people experience difficulty, rejection, failure, and pain as obstacles that weaken them, as signs that life is against them or that they are somehow not enough. But the reality is far different. Adversity is not a punishment, it is a teacher. It is a mirror reflecting the gaps in your strength, awareness, and resilience. And when you learn to see it this way, adversity stops being a force that breaks you and becomes a force that builds you. Every challenge contains a lesson, though most people miss it because they are focused on the discomfort instead of the opportunity. Life will always test your limits, people will betray you, situations will spiral out of control, resources will vanish. And when these moments arrive, the instinct for most is to shrink, to protect, to escape. But those who build unshakable inner power respond differently. They see the situation clearly. They identify what is within their control and what is not. They take responsibility for their choices and refuse to be defined by what has happened to them. Adversity becomes a fuel that sharpens their mind, strengthens their character, and clarifies their purpose. Self-belief in the face of adversity is not arrogance or denial. It is grounded in the understanding that while life can be unpredictable and harsh, your inner strength is constant. When you confront hardship with clarity and intention, you develop a feedback loop of resilience. You face difficulty, you endure it, you learn from it, and you grow. Every time you survive a trial, your confidence expands. Every time you navigate pain without surrendering, your sense of capability deepens. The world may try to break you, but you begin to prove to yourself that you cannot be broken unless you allow it. Adversity also exposes what is truly inside of you. It reveals hidden strengths and hidden weaknesses. Often, you do not know how strong you are until circumstances demand it. When life pushes you into a corner, you discover reserves of patience, creativity, courage, and focus that were dormant before. You learn how to adapt, how to strategize, how to endure longer than you thought possible. But it is not enough to simply endure. You must transform the experience into lessons that reinforce your self-belief. Reflection becomes the bridge between hardship and growth. The process requires discipline and conscious effort. It requires resisting the temptation to blame, complain, or indulge in self-pity. These are seductive, easy responses, but they only drain your energy and reinforce the idea that you are powerless. Instead, you observe the facts, assess the situation, and ask yourself, what can I control? What can I change? What am I learning? What strength am I cultivating? By asking these questions consistently, adversity ceases to be a source of weakness and becomes a source of insight and motivation. Adversity also strengthens emotional resilience. When difficulties arrive, they often provoke fear, doubt, anger, or despair. A person untrained in inner power reacts impulsively, lashes out, or withdraws. A person who transforms adversity uses it as a practice ground for emotional mastery. You learn to respond rather than react. You learn to hold your center even when the environment is chaotic. You learn that emotions are signals, not dictators. Over time, facing hardship without losing your balance trains your mind to remain composed under pressure, a skill more valuable than any external achievement. Another essential aspect is understanding that self-belief is not dependent on external validation. When adversity strikes, it often comes with criticism, skepticism, or disbelief from others. People will question your choices, your ability, and even your worth. If your confidence is tied to their approval, it will crumble. But when your belief is anchored internally, rooted in your awareness of your own growth, your understanding of your purpose, and your ability to endure, external voices lose their power. You become resilient, not because life has been easy, but because you have trained yourself to trust in your own capacity to overcome. Brewing over time, transforming adversity into fuel creates a momentum that compounds. Each challenge strengthens your self-belief, which prepares you for the next challenge. You no longer fear obstacles because you know they are opportunities in disguise. You no longer doubt yourself because your history of endurance constantly reminds you of your inner strength. Life's trials become the mechanism through which your unshakable self emerges. You develop an internal narrative that is unbreakable, a foundation of confidence that cannot be undermined by circumstance, opinion, or then this process also teaches humility and discernment. While adversity builds strength, it also reminds you that not all battles are worth your energy. Some situations are meant to teach, others to pass by, and some to shape your wisdom about who and what deserves your investment. As you navigate hardship with calm, you learn to conserve your energy for what truly matters and release what does not serve your growth. In this way, transforming adversity into fuel becomes not just a method of surviving, but a method of thriving, turning every trial into a stepping stone toward a self that is steadfast, capable, and unshakable.